Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control, especially this month as we are celebrating mental health awareness. My name is Patricia Mota, and I'm currently serving as the president and CEO of ACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit organization whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing our community the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. This year, our theme is Hace Más for your career, Hace Más for Latino talent, and Hace Más to lead, doing more, all with intentionality, transparency, and accountability. And those of you who are looking for your next career opportunity, join us for ASE's virtual career fair taking place on May 19th. At least 50 employers that are participating, a great opportunity to engage virtually with recruiters, with leaders from these companies, ERG leaders. And lastly, thank you to all of you that joined us for ASE's 40th anniversary that took place a couple weeks ago. We continue the celebration as this is the 40th anniversary year. And so continue to engage with ASE and our theme for this year. And so I want to kick us off today with our special guest that was joined us at our summit, because our summit had a very special event this year, which was graduating the Mujeres de HACE inaugural Latina Entrepreneurs cohort. And one of our graduates is here to tell us all about it, get to know her and who she is. And this is Dorcas Lind. Good morning, Dorcas. How are you today?
Good morning. I am focusing on what I can control. There's been a lot of news and activity in the country that can be very distracting and very troubling, but I am focused on what I can control and how I can contribute.
And it's not as easy as it sounds, right? Good morning, everyone, and please continue to engage in the chat. And Dorcas, this is Cafecito con Ace. So, salud, and share with our audience this morning, how do you prepare your cafecito, your morning beverage of choice?
So I have to be honest and say that my cafecito is not going to do the trick for me unless it has un poquito de chocolate. So I am a mocha girl, and I have, as you can see by the hue of my cafe, it has a little bit of chocolate, and I'm doing this whole keto thing. So I have heavy cream in my coffee this morning.
We have Tatiana joining us, one of our fellow alumni from the Mujeres de HACE Entrepreneurs. Buenos dias, Tatiana. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Please share, network in the comments section. We want to hear from you, folks from all over. Dorcas, you have an amazing story, and you're an amazing trailblazer and entrepreneur. Please share with our audience joining us here today in terms of what you do, your background, and how you got to where you are today.
I'm happy to do that because I think it's so important that we share our stories. We often think that we are alone in our struggles and our challenges and our insecurities, when in fact, so many of us are sharing similar experiences. And when we tell our stories, we feel empowered to be able to know that we can overcome those challenges. So because of a very tragic medical abuse story in my family, I have centered all of my academic learning and my professional life around using medicine as a tool for social justice. And so I've spent quite a number of years honing my professional skills in doing recruitment and retention for medical trials, medical and pharmaceutical research trials, both in the US and globally. And I prided myself on being an excellent employee. I took tremendous pride in being a terrific team member, in really serving a leader, and doing the best job that I could at developing my skills in order to fulfill that role. And in 2014, I went kicking and screaming against my will at the behest of family and friends and community who really wanted me to try entrepreneurship. And it was an incredible eye-opening experience. I recently saw a statement that says growth happens when you start doing things you're not qualified to do. And that was a very scary realization, because that I was living that in 2014. I had never been the person in charge. I had never been la jefa. And so taking that role was really invigorating. And now I'm finding that with the cohort, it was an opportunity to really share all of those challenges and fears and the inspiration to actually make it work.
Growth happens when you start doing things that you are not qualified to do. So the things that bring you fear, the things that you're not 100% sure of, may not have 100% of the expertise in, but you know what? You have a passion and you have a story and a will. And with a network, right, and with connections and leveraging that is where you can, right? You had a support network telling you, Dorcas, you need to do this.
That's right. And I'll say quickly that there's a gender element there as well, because all of the data and statistics show men are willing to apply to a job when they have less than 50% of the qualifications. Women won't apply for a role unless they feel they have 75% or more. So it's a mindset shift. It's really an opportunity to say, I'm ready to grow, I'm ready to learn and hit the ground running.
Mi gente, are you ready to grow? You ready to hit the ground running? I'm sure Dorcas is inspiring. Hola, Melinda. Good morning. Inspiring all of us just as much as she's inspiring me. Good morning, Yessi. We've got team members. We have folks from all over. Please network and engage with one another. Get your questions ready. Dorcas, one of the things we wanted to share during this conversation that we released during HACE's National Leadership Summit was our first ever Mujeres de HACE, Women of HACE book, which featured in honor of HACE's 40th anniversary, 40 stories. And Dorcas, one of those stories is yours. And for those of you tuning in, you can still get your copy if you go to the HACE website. We'll make sure to drop the link in the comment sections. And with a $40 donation in honor of HACE's 40th anniversary, we'll make sure to get you your copy. It's not just a book of stories, but there's like space for journaling and reflection and activities to help you think through for your own career, right? And Dorcas, if you don't mind, I want to start with your opening paragraph.
Sure.
So Dorcas, her chapter is called I Am My Ancestors' Wildest Dreams. And her first paragraph, it opens up, it says, when I was 15, I learned that after giving birth to my mother in Puerto Rico, my maternal grandmother was informed that she had been sterilized without her consent by the U.S. Public Health Service in the clinical trials that stripped her of dignity and respect. It is because of Puerto Rican women from the 1940s and the 1950s that we now have what is known as the modern oral contraceptive pill, the birth control pill, for example. I think that's a powerful opening statement. What else can you share about this powerful story that has now translated to what you do today?
So I shared earlier, and thank you for reading that. One of the things that HACE has helped me to do is talk about this trauma in a way that is empowering, and it allows me to open a door to be able to talk about where we find our why, where we find the passion that drives us to do fulfilling work. And at 15, I had no idea that I could actually take this abuse and trauma and turn it into something that could actually be impactful in the world. And so I feel very grateful at the opportunity to be able to practice telling this story in a way that can still be professional and be positive in terms of what it led to. So because of that, I was fortunate to have a community of educators who really channeled that rage that I had about this and turn it into how I could change the systemic issues around racism and sexism that impacted from a very specific healthcare experience that my grandmother had that we are still today experiencing in our communities and other communities around the United States and around the world. So my work is around including social justice and health equity as a focus. And so just from the pandemic alone, we know that Latino communities were ravished by the pandemic. And we want to make sure that we are listening to the community to understand what are the issues around hesitancy in vaccine uptake. What are the issues around a lack of participation in clinical trials? They are a privilege, not abuse. And the more that we can change that landscape, the more people will have access to cutting edge medicines and support. So her suffering, I've been able to carry it with me as my superpower.
Yeah, carry it with you as your superpower. So many nuggets that I took away from what you just shared, right? One of them being something you mentioned at the very beginning is how you leverage your why, or leverage, some of these personal stories as part of your why as to what you're doing today. And it ties in very closely in terms of what your passions and your interests and what you ultimately do in terms of your case, right? Your business today. You're leading with that passion and that purpose in mind. And so I encourage everyone tuning in to think about what are some of those stories, whether it's personal experiences, those from your, as you mentioned, Dorcas, your ancestry and history that drives you, and how do you align that with what you're doing in the workplace, and use that as your superpower, so that when times get tough, which inevitably they do every single day now, right, that you use that as your foundation, as your strength to say, this is getting tough and tougher, but I know why I'm doing this, and I'm going to continue to push forward, especially in a time of place that we are this week, where, right, I think women's rights are being challenged more than ever. And so we need to take action, and whatever that is for you, right?
Right.
And so I know Dorcas is just one of many of the stories that are in here. And so, Dorcas, thank you for taking the time to share yours. And again, if you haven't got your copy yet, for those of you tuning in, please visit the link in the comment section with your $40 donation that goes back to the efforts of the organization. I'm just so proud of all of the women. You see all of the 40 names that are listed here and all of their amazing stories. And it also walks you through how the Mujeres de HACE program works, right? So there's a section around negotiation and influence, and the stories around that, the personal branding, the building your strategic network. And so what else would you say? And I know you fell into the branding, right? You talk about your why. What else would you add in terms of advice for those that are trying to figure out, their purpose or their brand, for example?
That's a really interesting question, because there is something about my grandmother that I really haven't focused on in any of the HACE work, and that is she was a seamstress by trade. So she spent almost 40 years creating clothing that landed in Macy's and Bloomingdale's and all of the big fashion houses. She
Wow.
worked by the piece. So
Yeah.
she would get paid cents for the sleeves that she attached onto these gowns, for the collar that she would place. And I really think that's a beautiful analogy for how we can think about developing our brand and developing our journey in our career. I look back now at my CV and I think, wow, I never knew then why I was doing that role. I knew that there was a strategic concept in my head about what experiences I wanted to have, but it truly is by the piece. We identify what's needed, and then we add on to that as we build the dress, right? So as we're building our career, I think by
I
the
love that.
piece is a really important way to think about it, because we don't get it all at once.
Yeah.
We build it, and we identify where our strengths are and where our opportunities for growth are, and then we need to go figure out how do we get that piece so that we can have the dress.
Piece by piece. I love the dress analogy here. Piece by
Yeah, or
piece.
suit for those who wear suits.
Yeah.
For the men in the
Any
audience.
outfit, piece by piece. Those of you, we have a few minutes left with Dorcas. Please drop your questions or comments in the comment section. We want to hear from you. And question from Yessie, one of our team members. She's like, how do you manage the shift of immediately earning income as an entrepreneur versus getting, that full-time status employee paycheck?
That is an excellent question. And I want to say, part of what was so amazing about HACE is it gave me a second opportunity to be a contributing author. My goal is I do have several books that I plan on writing. And part of what I'm going to address in that is how you make that shift, even with the overwhelming sense of financial responsibility to yourself and to your family. And on the panel around entrepreneurship that occurred at HACE, I talked about not doing everything all at once. So I am really fascinated now by this hybrid opportunity for women, particularly Latina women who are opening their own businesses, to not do everything at once. You can actually negotiate part-time roles. You can actually negotiate opportunities that keep you whole financially, or at least intact enough to be able to cover your expenses while you're exploring your entrepreneur role. And that really has to do with knowing your why, understanding what you need and what you want to accomplish, and then being able to negotiate exactly how you're going to stay whole while you do this transition. And I want to write about this. So I'm going to be asking many other Latinas and other women entrepreneurs how they do that transition.
Wonderful. And you can catch a lot of other stories on that here too, including
Absolutely.
Dorcas and her future books to come. We're so excited to hear that. You said it, you put it out to the universe, and guess what? We're going to hold you accountable.
I know that's the only way that I
book
can say, okay, I have to do it. I told everybody, so I have to do it now.
I know, it works for me too. It's like, oh, I said it, I got to get it, it's going to get done. We're going to do it and we're going to figure it out and make it happen. Any other questions? We got a few minutes left. Dorcas, thank you again. You were part of our Mujeres de HACE inaugural entrepreneur cohort. You spoke on our summit. And so anything else? I know we were talking at the beginning, just how a tight-knit group that you want to shout out to your fellow cohort Mujeres and just all of the amazing work that they're doing.
I cannot even describe, and I talk about in my story how I was very hesitant to become part of HACE because as a Gen X assimilation kid, being Latino was what I did at home. It was never what I brought to the workplace because that wasn't what was supported from a cultural perspective. And I've come full circle, and the women who I have met have allowed me to be the broken Spanish, fully embracing my Latina culture now in my maturity. And they are a sisterhood that will be for life. We have a WhatsApp group that we talk to each other about all the things that we're experiencing in life. And it's amazing. It's really, really amazing.
And I love hearing that. It's been a platform, a space for our leaders to come in and to really unleash your authentic self, right? I think Latinos are not represented in leadership roles in traditional, corporate workspaces, for example. And so to your point, there has been challenges where folks are trying to either assimilate or be someone they're not because of that. And so the way that we know that you become an authentic, influential leader is by being true to who you are. And so, Dorcas, you have shown that through your story, through being here with us today. Salud, salud to everyone with our cafecitos. We have one more question. What has been the most valuable part of your HACE experience in terms of your business growth?
In terms of business growth, it has really given me a much broader understanding of how critical it is to not be afraid to embrace your numbers. If you don't like numbers, if you feel uncomfortable around the math, get somebody into your organization that does feel comfortable. You have to own your numbers. You have to feel confident about what your current day financial picture looks like so that you can grow, so that people will invest in your business, and you really can do what you love. But you can't do that unless you embrace the finances. And part of the entrepreneur program really gave me the confidence to know how important it is and where to get those resources.
And here she is too. So if you're out there looking to invest in Dorcas, make sure you reach out to her as well.
Please do.
She's got an amazing business. On that note, right? So Dorcas, help us take it home. One last story or comment that you want to share that gives us positivity and hope for the remainder of this year.
Absolutely. So we look back, my story is about my ancestors and how they've motivated me. And I encourage us to look forward. For those of us who are moms and parents, even if you're not a mom or a parent, think about the future, the world that you want to live in. My daughters had a chance to be at the graduation. We call them Hindi Ricans because they are representative of the America of the future. The biggest demographic is Latinos of all countries and backgrounds.
Yeah.
Marriage with South Asians. That is the growth of the United States. So we need to focus on the future and the world that we want, even once we're gone.
I agree with you 100%. Dorcas, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please share, continue to engage in the comment section. Y hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone.
Great to be with you.
Thank you. Great to have you. Bye-bye.